Welcome to the Week 2 Go-To session. This is the second session of 4 we're hosting this month. I was quickly telling the people that were here, and I'll try to tell this really quickly because they don't want to hear things repeated a dozen times, that, last week I had to upload a video from last month because for some reason, even though I recorded the lecture last week, it didn't convert. We'll see what happens this week, but rest assured that those of you who are watching this in the video format, even though you might not ultimately hear my words, we'll see what happens. The lectures are the same. I deliver the exact same information every month. I prefer to do it live because there might be tiny differences in what I say, but it's also an opportunity to field questions and comments from the people who are here. It's also a way for people to connect with me directly. After all, this is an online class, and it can sometimes feel like the instructor isn't a real person, right? There's just some mystery person occasionally grading your stuff or responding to questions. I like to hold these sessions live so that you can see that there's a real person teaching this class. So just a heads up, okay? We'll see what happens. If the same thing happens, I'll look into it. I don't know why that happened, but rest assured, I cover the exact same information every month, including what we're going to discuss this week. So what you see here is the list of activities. Again, things might look a little bit different from your perspective as a student, but mostly this is what you see. So we're in week 1, or we just finished week 1, excuse me. And I graded the journal responses and also enter grades for the McGraw-Hill Achieve modules. I'm still grading worksheets, okay? We instructors aim for a 72-hour turnaround. So you handed in worksheets Sunday night. That means, midnight tonight I'm aiming for. Maybe I have to work a little bit past midnight, okay? Overnight. But the reason why we aim for 72 hours is because this class moves fast. It's only a month long. So by meeting the 72-hour mark, that ensures that every student will have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday to work on the next writing task. Be patient, okay? I'm still grading things, and by midnight tonight, again, if I might have a handful still to grade at midnight, so look for feedback tonight. So the main activity for this week, week 1 was the worksheet, right? Week 2, much the same thing. You have a journal entry to write. You have another Achieve module to complete. But the main activity for this week, right here, step 2, organizing, is to produce an outline. Now, here's the good news. Most people do know what an outline is. Actually, you know what? I'm going to need a blank Microsoft Word document anyway, so let me go ahead and open one up. Most people know what an outline is, right? Have most of you created an outline before? They usually look like, right? You have a Roman numeral like 1. It sometimes it's hierarchical, meaning that there are different levels of information. So and then if you need to, you get into numbers, and then lowercase letters. And this stuff would typically be indented, right? It gets further indented for each level of information you go down. Here's the good news. You don't have to do any of that. We've done it for you. So Adriana says that she is terrible with outlines. Yeah, don't worry. We've done that. We've produced the structure for you. Okay, and actually, let me show you. I should have opened this. Let me show you the blank outline and a completed outline. Actually, let's begin with that. Okay, before I even get to the keynote presentation, let's just dive right into the outline. I find that it's best just to show what the outline is and how it's been filled out instead of being so theoretical with the keynote lectures. Let's look right into things. So I think I have it open on my desktop. You can see I've got 10 million things on my desktop. Oh, if anybody's curious, this is what I talked about last week, that it's a whole series of GPAD images. So here's one where looked at one way, it's a deer. Looked at upside down, it's a seal. And here's another one, right? Elephant and a turkey. Again, you don't see both versions at the same time. Terrence is asking, how did I do on week 1? Well, Terrence, you should have received grades on the journal entry, right? The weekly journal, and the Achieve module, that interactive module you have to complete over at McGraw-Hill. I don't know when you enter the room, Terrence, but I just explained that I'm still grading worksheets. The deadline is tonight at midnight, so I'm going to get, hopefully all of them graded by midnight. I might need to go an hour beyond that, but they're going to be graded. So don't panic. And by the way, I do understand. Yeah, you need that feedback, right? You can't really begin on the outline until you get feedback on your worksheet, because if you have improvements to make with your thesis, actually, let me show the worksheet, okay? So, where is it? You think I would have this all? You know what? Actually, it's in the activity itself. So let me do that. You have, oh, I got to put that in there. I'm sorry. You do have a student example, right? Click this link. So let's open that. But I do want to find my Jeep example. So bear with me. I apologize. Yes, I should have had this all prepared before I started the lecture. Outline. Oh gosh, I got to create folders for this stuff. Here's the Jeep essay. Okay, so that we have. Where's my Jeep outline? That's feedback on a student's outline, so no, we don't need that. Yeah, Kiwanis says take your time, but believe me, I'm driving people nuts. They want this to move fast, not slow. What if I do is just search? Let me move the control panel out of the way. Jeep outline. Outline example. I think that's it. Bingo. Okay, we're in business. So I'm going to add my Jeep outline. You already have one sample. Okay, every week the activities do have examples, but I like using the Jeep one as well. This is Diet Coke. Okay, so we looked at the Diet Coke ad last week. So you have, yes, this student's example of an outline. But I like to put my Jeep one in there too, just because you can see two examples. And also, yeah, I'm going to consistently refer to the Diet Coke ad, the Jeep ad throughout the month. Let me open up the blank document. So this guy here, the template, that's your blank outline. I'm trying to read. Terrence says he got kind of lost when he did his, I'm assuming the worksheet, Terrence, right? Because I hope you didn't dive into the outline yet. You need my feedback on your worksheet first. Okay. Oh, wow, they've changed everything. I didn't notice this. I don't really like this template. Someone else is saying, I'm a little confused on the Achieve module. Do we get graded on how we do on the Achieve module? How do we grade? No, you get graded on completion. So if you finish the Achieve module to 100%, you get 100. If you only get 88% through it, you get an 88. Okay. You know what? Can you bear with me for 2 seconds? I know this is incredibly boring, and I promise to speed things up, and we will be done in under an hour. But I don't like that new. Nobody informed me that we had totally changed the. Do I still have an older version of the blank? You know what? Yes, I do. Give me 2 shakes of a lamb's tail. I apologize. And the people who are watching this, yeah, if you need to skip forward a minute or two in the video, please do so. I'm going into last month. Stupid control panel is in the way. And let me go into the outline. Okay, so here's a blank outline template. Okay. And because I wasn't spotting this on the desktop, I'm going to save this on the desktop. Actually, it looks like it puts this number 1 here because it looks like there is a version on the desktop, but because I'm not finding it, I'm going to play it safe. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this template in the activity, okay? Because the new one, yeah, I've never seen this before, and I got no information from the department that we had completely changed things. And I think there are no instructions up top or anything, so I think this is so spare that students are going to get confused and not know what to do. So anyway, as soon as this session is over, I'm going to put this template in its spot, okay? So you have full instructions. And yeah, we created the outline for you. It's basically the same thing. It's just I think it's more detailed and more helpful. So some things to keep in mind. Remember in week 1, I said think in terms of 3s. Because your thesis should have 3 specific points. For the Jeep ad, remember I was interested in the ad's use of color or its use of color and background. Remember that beige textile fabric looking background? Its use of imagery and its double meaning tagline. Okay, for the Diet Coke ad, it was the ad's music. Remember that waka waka kind of funky music that's sort of humorous because it's playing on people's notions of what sexy music sounds like. So yeah, the ad's use of music, the ad's camera work, and again, the ad's language, its tagline, right? Tall, dark, and handsome. That music, camera work, language are all working kind of humorously, right? To play on this idea of the tall, slim glass of Diet Coke being sexy and attractive and desirable, even though, yeah, these devices are typically used with people. Okay, so you remember that from week one. It's super important that you have 3 solid analysis points in your thesis, and I'll be commenting on this when I grade people's worksheets, because those 3 analysis points help structure your entire paper. And I'm going to open up one more thing. So I'm going to have multiple documents open. But here's the completed Jeep essay. Okay, I mentioned last week that I created an outline. I wrote an essay because I wanted to see what it was like to complete the assignments I asked students to do. Also, it was incredibly useful for me. So anyway, here's the full essay. You'll have access to this next week because it will be one of the examples. Next week, you'll write the draft of the essay. And here's my introduction. Okay. The final line of your introduction is where your thesis appears. Okay. So through the use of simple color, playful imagery, and a double meaning tagline, blah, blah, blah. So this is a strong signal to the reader that, oh, this essay is going to discuss the ad in terms of its color, its imagery, and its tagline. And then what follows is a paragraph about color. Okay, so when you list your thesis points, color, imagery, tagline, you discuss them in the order in which they appear. So here's a paragraph about color. The paragraph begins with a topic sentence. The topic sentence is kind of like the thesis for the paragraph. Just as the thesis sets up the structure for the entire paper, the opening topic sentence establishes the focus for the paragraph. Okay, so the ad is an exercise in simplicity, especially in its use of color. So this signals to the reader that this paragraph is going to be about color. The next paragraph signals that the topic is the ad's use of imagery. So there's a paragraph about that. Finally, another topic sentence that tells the reader that this paragraph is going to be about the ad's tagline. Okay, we're aiming for a 5-paragraph essay. So you have an introduction that ends with your thesis. You have your 3 body paragraphs where you focus on your 3 thesis points one at a time. Right, 1, 2, 3. And then you have a conclusion paragraph. So keep this in mind, because when you fill out the worksheet, where is the blank verse? Here it is. These Roman numerals here, and there are 5 of them, each Roman numeral represents a separate paragraph in your essay. And this is important because although I don't see it too often, some students think, oh, it's a template. I just completed a template in week 1, the brainstorming worksheet. And they fill out the information, but they do so sort of randomly. This is not a worksheet. I mean, it is a template, but it's not a brainstorming worksheet. These are not isolated individual prompts that need to be answered in isolation. Again, Roman numeral 1 is your essay's introduction paragraph. That's what an outline is, by the way. It's a blueprint. It's a plan for your essay. It's not you're not writing it in full. You will use complete sentences, by the way. But no, you're not writing paragraphs of information. You're getting down the main ideas. So the introduction paragraph asks for 3 things. A 1-sentence hook, enticing the audience to read more. Okay? No quotations or rhetorical questions. That's not an absolute rule, but it is possible that a essay could begin with a question, but too often I sometimes see generic questions like, what is love? What is life? Generic questions don't really work very well. Quotations can be awkward too. You don't really expect. It's possible again, but yeah, it's a little bit abrupt to immediately begin with a quotation. But essentially, don't be confused. Okay, so when I say 1-sentence hook, I'm just asking for a preview of how you think your essay will begin. Just the first sentence. And if we look at the completed outline, here's the Jeep. That's what I do here. Okay. Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself with its reputation for ruggedness, independence, and adventure. Please don't copy my opening move. Sometimes I see people. Call of Duty, the well-known video game, practically sells itself. That's technically plagiarism. Okay, so come up with your own hook. And again, I'm just asking for a one-sentence preview. In your actual paper, yeah, the hook will be developed beyond a single sentence. So, for example, where's my essay? This is a problem of navigating between 4 different documents. There it is. Let me make this a little bit smaller. Yeah, as you can see, the hook here is actually all of this. Right? So Jeep, the well-known brand, practically markets itself, blah, blah, blah. I do include a quotation. This guy, Richard Truitt, proclaimed Jeep the most copied brand of American vehicles. And his words, his claim, is hardly surprising. And then I talk about the image of Jeep, right? In other words, I begin with Jeep, the well-known brand practically markets itself. And then I riff on that idea that the Jeep spirit and the loyalty that this motor car inspires is hardwired into our cultural consciousness, meaning, yeah, everybody knows what Jeep. Everybody can call to mind the classic image of what a Jeep is. One can easily picture a driver behind the wheel of a Jeep, downshifting around a snaking mountain bend, or kicking up dust through the sun-baked Australian outback, or zooming past zebras grazing the Serengeti. Then I transition into the ad itself. It is perhaps fitting, then, that Jeeps see whatever you want to see. Embraces the sportive feelings that such a vehicle invokes. Okay, so actually this is all my hook. But for your outline, just give me a one-sentence preview of how you think your essay is going to begin. Okay. Second, a concise description of the ad itself. Just 2 or 3 sentences, or 4. But this is not what, remember in the worksheet, it asked for a detailed description as if you were describing the ad to someone who's never seen it before. This is not that. This is concise. Okay, so just in a few lines, describe the ad. So here, the Jeep ad is a print poster. It contains a reversible image in the center, set against a beige mesh background. The reversible image is a vintage hand-drawn animal sketch. Looked at one way is a giraffe. Looked at another way, it's a penguin. The word Jeep, along with the ad's tagline, appears above and below the image. Right side up, on top, upside down, just below. Okay? Why am I doing this? Because remember I said in week 1, your reader is the general reader. Okay, someone who is either unfamiliar with the ad or maybe they've seen it, but yeah, you're giving them a brief refresher. Okay, you're kind of describing the ad very, very briefly. And finally, C, ask for your thesis. Okay, so if you do this, give me a one-sentence idea of how you plan to perhaps kick off your essay, a short description of the ad, and your thesis. You have the sort of bare bones for your introduction. Yeah, you'll have to fill things out. Like I said, you'll probably say more than just a single sentence. But does this make sense? Like, this is what Roman numeral 1 is doing. It's your introduction paragraph. And then, yeah, so the next paragraph is Roman numeral 2. So this is your first body paragraph. This is where you discuss your first thesis point. Okay, so I ask for several things. What is the topic? Create a topic sentence. Okay, so the ad is an exercise in simplicity, especially in its use of color. Okay, something that indicates that color is the first discussion point. I ask then for 2 main points you plan to make. Okay, that's what this means. Sentence describing in detail from the ad that is part of the rhetorical strategy. That's fancy language for tell me two things you plan to say in the paragraph. Okay, and notice I'm not writing entire paragraphs. A sentence or 2 is all you need. An outline is not the full essay. And actually, I don't want to be reading entire paragraphs. We're not at the essay drafts. I need to look through your ideas quickly. So, yeah, 1 main point you plan to make, a second main point you plan to make. Research. Research is required, okay? This is why I'd ask for a sentence incorporating research, including an APA in-text citation. We'll talk about APA in a second. That supports your claim. Here's the thinking, okay? If you spend some time on this outline, and I don't think the outline is really terribly difficult. Remember, we're looking for kind of 1 or 2 sentences, right? Just the main ideas, the gist of what you plan to say. But if you can also find relevant research, if you do a good job on the outline, you're set. Like, you have the skeleton for your paper. You just have to hang flesh on that skeleton. Like, if you have a really solid blueprint, yeah, you have to build the house, but like the frame is in place. You should be able to take this information from the outline and, yeah, add extra stuff to it. But you essentially have all the pieces in place. Terrence says it's going to take some time to get all the information together. Yeah, it will. And I should note, and I'm going to talk a little bit later in this lecture about research. I ultimately, actually, let's look at the Jeep essay in full. I have 6 references. You need 3, so don't freak out. You don't need 6. You need 3. One of them has actually been provided for you if you wish to use it. In every set of instructions, you should have a link to this video, Pathos, Ethos, and Logos in Advertising. You can use this video as one of your 3 sources. By the way, can someone confirm, is that video still appearing in the instructions? I only ask because we did a complete overhaul. Okay, thank you, Donovan. So that's why I was surprised by the new outline template that I don't like. So I'm going to replace it with last month's version, which I think is much more detailed. Let me go into this month's. Yeah, it's still here. Okay. So this video, this can be one of your 3 sources. So Terrence, if you're freaking out about putting together information, don't. This could be one of your 3 research cited sources. You just have to find 2 more. That shouldn't be too difficult. Please, though, please, 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 if you do use this video as one of your 3 sources, do something more interesting with it than just giving a definition of what pathos means. For one, you could do that without quoting, right? Pathos is the appeal to emotion. Second, that's little more than just providing a definition, and that's not really research. So, yeah, watch the video. I think it's only like 5 or 6 minutes. It's not terribly long. And yeah, find something more interesting than the definition of words to use. I shouldn't laugh, but I do see that a lot. Okay. And yeah, providing a definition of pathos and then giving a citation is not really, you can do more. There's information in the video that should connect to your ad, okay, in a more specific way. Where was I? Oh, my examples. Okay, so 6 references. I didn't quote the video, but that's because I had so much information that I just didn't want to put in anything else. But here's the thing: it took me hours to find these. I knew I wanted to talk about the Jeep ads use of color, but I couldn't just quote anything. I actually had to, go to several sites and look at the information and decide, is there anything relevant here? And ultimately, I did find this one site, Smashing Magazine, another one called Code Drops, Color Theory for Designers, Color and Emotion, What Does Each Hue Mean? In each of these, I did find, terrific quotes that connected directly to what the Jeep ad is doing. Both had information about how beige is an earth tone, and because the Jeep is obviously an outdoorsy vehicle, that worked well. And I have other sources. Okay, so you need to find 3. I'm going to return to issues of research and AP in just a second. Actually, I need to fix something here. Chapman 2010, Cousins 2012. And actually, I'm going to, I keep meaning to fix this every month. I'm going to take this out because it confuses people. Even though technically I should leave it in. These websites were it's hard to describe, but both websites, they had paragraphs, but they also sometimes had bullet points, or they were very difficult to count. If you have traditional page numbers, you have to give the page number in which the quote appears. But if there aren't traditional page numbers, you count the paragraphs. And some of these had like 42 paragraphs, and some of them didn't quite look like paragraphs, and it was a nightmare. And the rule is, give your reader as much information beyond what is typically required, a last name, a year, a page or paragraph number, to help them find the information. So that's why it said, beige and tan section. I was just indicating to the reader that in the beige and tan section, If you look at that specific section in paragraph 1, that's where you'll find the quote. But so many students imitate that example, and it doesn't apply to their situation. I'm sorry, I'm getting a little bit lost in the weeds with that, but yeah, this is more the classic look of a citation. We'll get back to this, though. I'm going to explain. Next week's lecture, by the way, is entirely devoted to APA. I can't promise it's be the most thrilling lecture, but it might be the most useful. I'm quite literally next week going to open up a blank Microsoft Word document and show you how to make the paper look like this. How to create the header, the cover page, how to set up paragraphing, how to create in-text citations, references, all that in real time. This week I'll point you to some general information you can use for APA, but let me get back to the outline itself because I'm sort of drifting away. I apologize for that. Where were we? Okay, so yeah, in the outline templates, you're basically Roman numeral 1 is your first paragraph, and the 3 body paragraphs, so Roman numerals 2, 3, and 4, you're doing the same thing. Give me a topic sentence. Topic sentence. 1 main point you plan to make. A 2nd main point you plan to make. Relevant research. Okay? Because if you can do the research now, yeah, your research is set. And this sometimes confuses students, but we also ask just a sentence or 2 explaining how your research is relevant. This doesn't actually go in the paper, and I admit this is super confusing. And even in the new template, the one I just said I didn't like so much, it still has that. Because usually in an outline, yes, everything you put on the page ends up in the essay. But this is really for you and for me. I want you to understand, and I want to see that you understand that your research really is connected and relevant. Yeah, you're not going to literally say in your paper, this research supports my claim because blah, blah, blah. So if I see it in the outline, I'll comment on it. So I won't get too mired in that right now. And then you repeat. So this is your next body paragraph. So this will be your 2nd thesis point. Give me the topic sentence. Create a topic sentence. 1 main point you plan to make in that paragraph. A 2nd main point you plan to make in that paragraph. Find some relevant research and give me a citation. Explain the research's relevance. Then move on to the next body paragraph, which will be your 3rd thesis point. Topic sentence. 1 main point you plan to make. A 2nd main point you plan to make. Research. Explanation of that research. And finally, the conclusion paragraph. Rephrase your thesis statements. Okay? So my original thesis statement was here: through the use of simple color, imagery, and a double meaning tagline, blah, blah, blah. In the conclusion, yeah, I kind of echo it, but in a different way. Okay? The ad's basic elements: color, imagery, wording. So that's what that's asking for here. Rephrase your thesis statement. And then 2 or 3 sentences anticipating how you think your essay might end. Okay, don't worry, it might change, but just give it the old college try. You do have to create a references list. Okay, that should actually appear there. Terrence Adriana says Microsoft Word actually has an APA template. Yeah, it does, but I will still encourage you to follow my walkthroughs next week. 1, because I go beyond just layout. I will show in real time how to create in-text citations and references, but also because sometimes, and I haven't looked at the newest versions of Microsoft Word and its templates, but sometimes they're not quite correct or quite perfect. And I do think it's useful to be able to do the steps yourself from scratch. But yeah, there are templates online you can find, but I don't know. Why not learn a new skill? Terrence, job. Okay, Terrence, that's fine. I didn't read your comments out loud because even though I don't think it's too personal, yeah, the people who are watching can't see the control panel or the chat window. So that's fine, Terrence. And yeah, and Terrence has talked about a job issue. Listen, I'm not like the due dates they're supposed to be firm. And I think last week did I mention the late policy? It's 72 hours. Each day an assignment is late, there's a 10-point deduction, but only up to 3 days. After 3 days, the assignment receives a 0. However, I'm pretty easygoing. I'm supposed to ask for people for like doctor's notes, but can I be honest? I just don't want to see doctor's notes. I don't care. If you get in touch with me, like Terrence has a night shift he's planning on working. If there's or if you have to pull a double shift on Saturday and Sunday, and you need until Monday to hand in the work, send me a note. Do so. Don't do it at the last second, at 11:59, or after the deadline, because then I'm going to be cynical and say, really? You couldn't have contacted me sooner? But yeah, I'm pretty easygoing. Plus, as you've seen, it does take me the full 3 days to grade things. So I don't know. I just can't really work up the anger. Like, why wasn't this here Sunday night? Well, if I'm still grading on Tuesday or Wednesday, I don't really care that much. As long as it's in the pile, I'll be happy to grade it. So yeah, just let me know. Anyone, okay? If there's a personal issue, or if you're overwhelmed, or if you're overworked, yeah, I'm pretty easygoing with. When can you get it to me? Monday? Tuesday? But yeah, I'm not going to extend things ridiculously. Okay, so do we... I know I kind of wandered off topic and filibustered a bit, but does the outline assignment make sense to people? Like what you need to do in terms of it's a paragraph by paragraph plan for the essay? Okay, good. Then I'm going to shift to the presentation, which I'm going to fly through because, believe it or not, we've already been talking about all of these points. So welcome to week 2. I should have said that at the beginning. Here's just a reminder for... remember we looked at this image last week? So week by week, we are taking you through the writing process. So week 1, we were here. And week 2, we're here. We're researching already, and we're organizing our material. This I do want to remind people, the intended audience, it's the general reader. And let me give a practical demonstration of what this means. With your outline, next week with your essay, I sometimes see things like this. So the introduction, it asks for a one-sentence hook or one-sentence preview of how you think you're going to begin your essay. I sometimes see things like this. In this ad, the man is anxious on his first day of work. The general reader would have no idea what this means. Think of the general reader as like grabbing a stranger off the street. A random person should be able to read your ad analysis essay from beginning to start and never feel lost. Okay? This sentences like this, I see this a lot, and I'm not trying to be mean. I'm just trying to give a caution. In this ad, what ad? What man is anxious on his first day of work? What does that mean, first day of work? Like, this information just comes out of nowhere. And it's because the writer is assuming we already know what he or she is talking about. And this doesn't just apply to the ad analysis essay. With, I think, all good writing, you have to hold the reader's hand. So this is very general and vague. However, to write in the McDonald's ad, first day, Andy, an anxious millennial, feels overwhelmed on his... I don't want to repeat first day, but it sounds awkward to say initial day. On his first day on the job. Okay, repeats first day, but I don't have to write it perfectly. Can you see the difference between the two? In terms of, this is helplessly vague. Okay, it makes sense to the writer because we always think the ideas in our mind automatically make sense to everyone, right? And yes, I can figure out that this sentence is about the McDonald's ad. But again, and if you don't believe me, read things online. Not like discussion board posts, no, like professional writing, a movie review, a video game review, a sports article. People don't write this vaguely, okay? So if you have any doubts, read your own writing from the perspective of a person who is not you. Pretend you're not you, okay? So who do we have here tonight? Aaron, Adriana, Brian, Donovan, Joseph. Yeah, Donovan, when you read your own writing, don't read it as Donovan. Okay, imagine you're just some Joe Schmo, some plain Jane. You've come across a paper. It's lying on a library table, or it's been left behind in the cafeteria. Can you read your own thoughts from beginning to finish? And do they make sense to you as a complete stranger? If you do so, you'll spot moments like this. Okay. And I do think not to pat my own back, but I do think the Jeep essay passes this test. I think, yeah, I could grab a person off the street and they could read this start to finish and not feel lost. So yeah, be careful, okay? Terrence says, help me on this and send my work. Yeah, absolutely. If anybody wants me to take a look at something, sure, you can send something my way. Okay, so that's my quick comments about your audience is a general reader. Make sure you keep that in mind. What is an essay? An essay can actually be anything. A video could technically be an essay. But yeah, for this class, it's the more traditional sense. A short piece of nonfiction writing on a particular subject. Your essay is not going to be counted in terms of page numbers. And instead, we have a suggested word count. Your essay will be between 700 and 1,400 words. My Jeep essay, which is right around 3 pages long, I think it's in the 830 word category. And yeah, I don't know. I think my Jeep essay is pretty well developed, but it's 3 pages. I rarely see ad analysis papers that go beyond 4 pages. So that kind of 800 to 900, 1,000 words. I don't really see papers that are 11, 1,200, 1,400 words. Even though some people think 2 to 3 pages is a lot, it's not. And if you have 3 solid thesis points and you're creating a 5-paragraph essay, you shouldn't have much trouble filling up 2.5 to 3 pages, or 3.5 pages, or 4 pages. Essay structure. I'm going to cruise through this because we already talked about it. You're going to have an introduction. You're going to have those middle paragraphs, those body paragraphs, those support paragraphs. Okay. Again, think in terms of threes. Those 3 things you list in your thesis are going to become your 3 body paragraphs, and you're going to have a conclusion. And here's just more details about that. Okay, the introduction. Yes, it's setting the stage for the rest of your essay, and it ends with your thesis statements. Also, the introduction is not the place to get into analysis. Okay, so if you're discussing the Call of Duty ad's use of music, that is not the place to start talking about. Yeah, you might mention it if you're in your brief summary of the ad that it uses music, the Rolling Stones song "Give Me Shelter," but this is not the place to start analyzing why that music is appropriate. Okay, that's the body of the paper. The introduction is, yeah, it's general. It's an introduction. It's an overview. It's preparing the reader for what's coming. Then you have your body. This is where you develop your main ideas. Okay, and you get to some details here, including thoughts you have on the topic, conclusions you have, research. And I'm sorry for jumping around so much, but let me just quickly show where's the Jeep essay here. In general, I think let's look at this paragraph on color. So it's got a topic sentence, right? So it establishes the topic for this paragraph. I describe it. Again, the reader doesn't know, or maybe they've seen the ad, but they don't remember. So the ad uses a simple background of camel mesh. The ad's beige background brings to mind fabric and textiles, a burlap sack, a tawny canvas tent, khaki clothing. The color might also suggest environment, dusty paths, windswept dunes, even the debris kicked up by a Jeep wheel's wake. Okay, listen, I'm a writer by trade, so I'm describing things quite specifically. But yes, I'm describing things because I think it's useful. Let's say you're writing about the Call of Duty ad's use of music. Yeah, explain what the music is, right? Explain or describe things. Then you get into explanation. The color choice is no accident, for it reinforces Jeep's outdoorsy image. In design, muted earth tones are, quote, usually reserved for backgrounds. So this is my research. And while these colors may indeed be used for backgrounds, quote, neutrals and browns are the epitome of nature, end quote. Okay, that's incredibly useful because the Jeep's connection to nature is strong. And then I make sure to tie everything together. The color scheme works to promote the rugged off-roading image that the ad campaigns creators clearly desire. Then I move on to my next topic, which I'm not going to read out loud, but it's the same thing. Topic sentence, description of things, explanation, research, and then a cincher, right? Only such a versatile automobile as Jeep could take one on a journey into the heart of the African plain or the rocky tip of Tierra del Fuego to see giraffes and penguins up close. I think you'll probably be doing something similar. Topic sentence, brief description of the issue you're examining, explanation, research's support, and some sort of closing line, some sort of cincher line to tie everything together. So that's what this is explaining here. Okay? And yes, you'll have a conclusion paragraph where you echo your thesis, your main ideas, and find a satisfying final note on which to end the essay. Thesis statements we talked about last week. Okay, so I'm going to skip this because we looked at examples. You're also getting feedback on your thesis statements when I finish grading the worksheets tonight. Again, I'm going to cruise through this because this is just a restatement of what I've already talked about. Your paragraph begins with a topic statement. You explain the issue. You give evidence, okay, including research, by the way. And here, link, yeah, that's what I call the cincher line, right? You kind of end with a consolidation of your main point. If you can remember this tip, yeah, it's not a great idea to end a paragraph with a quotation or research because it just kind of hangs there. No, there's an expectation that you'll bring the paragraph to a close. Okay, let's use the final moments here to talk about research. I've already mentioned you need 3 sources. One source has been provided for you if you wish to use it, that video on pathos, ethos, and logos. I don't know why my screen is not collapsing. I actually wanted to get away from this. But actually, you know what? Let's keep this cute image up for a second. Quote sandwich. This is just a reminder that we don't just drop research into a paragraph. We lead into it. Okay, we set it up. Then we deliver the quote or paraphrase. Okay, it's sometimes not necessary to quote in full, but okay, the quote or paraphrase, and then we comment after the quote. Yeah, sometimes I see quotations that just like they drop in out of nowhere. They appear out of the blue. That's not what we're trying to do. And actually, you'll see examples next week because not only the JEEP essay will you have, the full JEEP essay to read, but also the ICOC essay, a past student paper. So you have a paper that I wrote and you have a past student paper. Those become available next week. And you'll get to see like examples of how quotations are incorporated naturally. And actually, if you were paying attention and reading along with me, even though I know it's not terribly thrilling, but when I was reading the paragraph on the JEEP's use of color, yeah, you could kind of see that the quotations were naturally incorporated. Research. Okay, so we have about 13 minutes left. I have to do something gross. I'm going to take my mic away for a second. I have to blow my nose. I've got a summer allergy or pre-summer allergy. Give me 2 seconds. Yuck. Okay, research. You need 3 sources. One has been provided for you if you wish to use that video on pathos, ethos, and logos in advertising. You don't have to use it, even if the instructions say you do. I'm completely fine. If you find 3 awesome sources that you love better, you don't have to force in the video if you don't want. One source should come from the Full Sail Library database. So let's go there. This is Full Sail Connect, okay, the main page. And the library, if you scroll down, is right here. Once you're in the library, you scroll down to Research Databases. And you have a whole bunch of tools. EBSCOhost is actually an umbrella term for a whole bunch of different databases, like Academic Search Complete, and Architecture. But I recommend just clicking on the whole thing because you can actually search all these individual databases at the same time. You also have what was formerly known as LexisNexis. They call it now Nexus something, Nexus Uni. In general, the former LexisNexis tends to search newspapers, more kind of everyday reading materials, whereas EBSCOhost, it will search for those things as well, but it has a stronger focus on like magazines and journals. So use both, okay? But I'm going to show EBSCOhost real quickly. And yeah, you can select it to search all these, okay? And yeah, you're probably not going to listen to an audiobook, but what the heck, just search everything at once. Now, let me give a warning. Research takes time. Remember I said I used 6 sources for the JEEP essay? It took me hours, okay? And I say that because I already have some keywords that I know are going to trigger a specific response. It's not going to be that quick for you. You're going to have to vary your search terms. Okay. Whether it's through the research database here at the Full Sail Library or using Google. Okay. Um, Another trick, this is a little bit difficult to explain. I call it reverse engineering. By that, I mean, sometimes you know what you want to say about the ad. Like I already knew that I wanted to find something. I already had strong opinions or thoughts about the Jeep ad. Yeah, it's using this beige fabric textile-like background. And by the way, last week you guys did awesome. People were already mentioning, oh, it reminds me of a burlap sack, or it reminds me of canvas. Yeah, I had those same thoughts, and I already knew, okay, I need to find something that reinforces beige as an earth tone, or beige and that fabric like background is being kind of connected to either the outdoors or nature. And so for me, it was a matter of, okay, I need to find quotes like that. In other words, I didn't have to do all this reading about color theory to learn about color theory. I knew what I wanted to find. Depending on your level of comfort discussing the thesis points you've chosen for your ad, you might need to do initial reading and then learn and then find what is useful. Or you might already know, like, yeah, I need to find a quote that says this. That's what I call reverse engineering. You already have an idea of what you're looking for research-wise. You just need to find it. But either way, both either coming into it without knowing exactly what you're going to say or already knowing, it's going to take time, okay? So I'm going to type Call of Duty and Gimme Shelter, because it's the name of the song, the Rolling Stones song, Gimme Shelter. And the search is going slow for some reason. Very, very slow. This doesn't usually happen. You can see the circle is still moving. This makes me think that maybe there's an issue with EBSCOhost right now. Here, let me try it again. Call of Duty, Gimme Shelter. There we go. Okay. So I got 3 results. Again, it's not going to be this easy for you. You're going to maybe get 100 results. It's going to take time, but I already know how to trigger this specific article. So you'll either have an HTML file or a PDF. So this is an HTML file. And yeah, you actually have to read or at least skim the article to see if it's worthwhile. This is very, very short. And at first glance, it doesn't seem to be answering the question of, okay, it uses a specific song. Why? But I could make the argument that maybe some of this information, even though it's not explaining why, that would require additional research. It still is evidence that, look, according to Activision Vice President of Music Affairs, Tim Riley, scoring or obtaining the song Gimme Shelter was no small feat, right? No small accomplishment. And then it continues. He had to fly to New York to get permission. Okay, it's not explaining why the ad uses this song, but it is strong evidence that, yeah, they wanted this song. Okay. Yes, the song is well known. It's a classic rock song. Yes, the Rolling Stones are a well-known band. Yes, the song is energetic. It's upbeat. But lots of songs could have been chosen if that was the issue. No, they clearly wanted this song. Why? If you don't know the answer and you're writing about the Call of Duty ad, yeah, you'll probably need maybe 2 sources about this issue. But still, I would argue that this is still strong evidence that, yeah, they wanted this song, this specific song. Why? I'm not going to answer that because I'll let you figure out. I'll just give a hint that, yes, it fits the ad and even more so the game specifically. Okay. I don't know why I went here. I'm going to type this into the chat box. Project APA.info. For people watching this lecture, project APA.info. I recommend clicking on that link or typing it in if you're watching this lecture, project APA.info, and bookmarking it. This was made by a fellow Full Sail English instructor. And I like this because if you've ever seen a true MLA manual or an APA manual, they're like hundreds of pages long. This only covers the stuff that you would need as a student. And for now, here's my expectation. You are receiving a grade for research, quality of research, and APA format. But because I'm not going to do walkthroughs of APA until next week, here's what I expect in your outline. I do not expect 100% perfection. Okay, I'm not going to get super angry or take off a ton of points if certain things are a little bit off. But I need to see that you are making a solid attempt at APA formats. Okay. Again, next week we'll get into the specifics. I'm going to do those walkthroughs in real time. And then, yes, for the essay draft, I'm going to expect things to be near perfect. So what does this mean? It means that when it asks for research in the outline itself, so let me get rid of this. No, I don't want to save. Okay, so here's the completed Jeep outline. So, okay, for example here, right? So it asks for a sentence incorporating a research quote. So that's what I did. Incorporating means it contains some of your own language. So the ad encourages viewer interaction, comma, for a quote. When rotated, each of the vintage drawn animals becomes another species, leaving the viewer to choose which one he or she prefers, playing on their perceptions. So yeah, that's a really useful quote. It speaks directly about the reversible image in that Jeep ad. So I quote it. And for a direct quote, you need three things: an author's last name, a year, and a page or paragraph number. Now, why do I say page or paragraph number? Because, for example, this article that I just found through the library database, it doesn't have page numbers, right? It's all just one page. So if I did quote anything from, let's say, this paragraph here, I would have to count the paragraphs. 1, 2, 3, 4. It comes in paragraph 5. Okay. But a more traditional source, for example, a PDF file that you find through the library database, that will be an exact photocopy of the pages that actually appeared in the magazine or journal, and they will have traditional page numbers. And I think my outline has so the abbreviation for paragraph is lowercase para, P-A-R-A, period, and then whatever paragraph it appears in. Do I have an example of a page number? No, I don't. But let's say if it's a page number, you just use the abbreviation P, okay, lowercase p. So those are the three things you need: author's last name, year, page or paragraph number. So you can look at the examples. You have the Diet Coke one too. You can take a look at her. Actually, I can't believe this is a mistake. The abbreviation is not PG. I'm going to have to yell at someone because then students imitate it. Now you might be thinking, well, this doesn't look like the one you just showed. This is why I recommend projectapa.info. Go to in-text citations. Just click on the first thing: formats of quotation, paragraph, or summary. And this is why I'm going to spend time explaining this next week in the lecture that is completely devoted to APA. You always have two options. You can mention an author's name in your actual sentence, according to Newman, or according to Michael Newman, or according to Michael Newman, correspondent for Time Magazine. Okay, you can include as much information or as little as you want, but if you mention the author's name in your actual sentence, you put the year in parentheses automatically. Then you deliver your quotation. At the very end, you put a page or paragraph number. Or you don't use the author's name. You just find a natural way to introduce your quotation and save everything for the end. Here's why I don't grade too harshly on APA for the outline. Go to projectapa.info or study the two outline. After this session is over, I'm going to add my Jeep outline, okay, to the assignment. You can study the two examples, sample outlines. You can go to projectapa.info. Whatever you do, just imitate the examples, okay? Next week, again, I'll slow down and better explain the distinctions between these things. And same thing for references. You have to create a references list. But again, you have the Diet Coke ad. You can look at her references. You will soon have my Jeep example. You can study those references. Or you can go to projectapa.info and click on references page. Okay. And most of you are probably going to be a lot of newspapers, magazines, and databases. Maybe for some of you websites as well, but just click on whatever's appropriate. And again, if your article comes from a database, by the way, if it comes from an article database with DOI, you'll know that because it will have a DOI number. Okay. If it doesn't have that, just imitate the examples. Okay. Do people feel confident that they can imitate the examples of in-text citations and references? And if you get some small, tiny things wrong, okay, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to take half points off or something. Here's what I'll take points off for. I see your citations, I see your references, and they are completely invented. Like, they're not following APA, they're not following MLA. Like, sometimes people they grab the URL, the web address, and drop it in and call it a reference. That will lead to a huge loss of points. So in other words, take advantage of my generosity. I'm telling you that I want to see APA headed in the right direction. It's mostly right. It's 85% right or 80% right. I can see that you're making an honest attempt to try to follow APA. That's what I want. Let's see. I apologize. I don't know. Pachai. I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing your name correctly. It seems like there are a few example documents that are not correct. Will we be using the right example documents? I worry we may not look at the wrong ones and get points taken off. Yeah, I'm replacing the template, the outline template, because the new one I don't like. I think it's too spare. I think it's too confusing. I think students won't complete it correctly. And as for, okay, this one, yeah, it does have the small error, right? PG instead of P. I would never take off points for that. Okay. I would immediately know, oh, yeah, I would tell you in my feedback, hey, listen, the document has a tiny mistake. The abbreviation for page number is just lowercase p, not PG. Other than that, I think this is 100% correct. And yeah, once the session is over, I'm also going to upload my Jeep document, and it will be 100% correct as well. So yeah, don't worry. You're not going to get points taken off for anything that tiny. Questions, comments about anything we've gone over the session, about the outline assignment, about research, about APA, anything about the class as a whole. If you don't have questions, if you're like, no, I understand everything perfectly, the instructor kind of went this direction and that sometimes and wandered a bit, but no, I get it, then great. You don't have to stick around. You are allowed to go enjoy the rest of your evening. I thank you for attending. Next week we'll do it again. Please show up. I know I might have scared people. An entire session devoted to APA, but I can promise you it's going to be super useful. I know we have a video that does also teach layout, but I'm going to go beyond layout. I'm going to show you how to set up the document and make it look right, but I'm also going to create in-text citations in real time, showing you the two options. Like if you want to use the author's name in your actual sentence or not, saving it for the end. Same thing with references. I will take an article from the library database and an article from just Googling, okay, and I'll build it from scratch. Author's last name, year, title of the article, title of publication, etc. I'll be hanging out for a few minutes, so if people do have questions, feel free to type away. Although if there aren't many questions, I will stop the recording eventually, at least. So, actually, while I'm waiting for questions, I'm going to start immediately, right now, making those fixes. Okay, so this is going to be terribly boring for the people who are still watching at home. you can feel free to stop the video if you haven't already. Okay, so I need to go into here and get rid of this one and replace it. I thought there were two things there. Oh, I didn't mean to eliminate everything. Okay, that's fine. I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now. So people who are watching at home, thanks a lot. Adios.